evening, whether here in person or watching and joining us online. I see a few familiar faces, but for those who I'm meeting for the first time this evening, my name is Dr. Natalie McGuire. I'm the Curator for Social History and Community Engagement here at the Barbados Museum and Historical Society. And the History Group is a program that shares ongoing research by scholars looking into Barbadian history, heritage, culture, and all the different aspects of that globally and with various communities. We're very excited to have Terry Morris here with us this evening, and to formally introduce him and his presentation, I'm going to hand over to our Education and Community Outreach Officer, Ms. Kay Hall.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the museum. Terry Morris was born in Barbados as a member of the fourth generation of Joneses born after the abolition of slavery in 1838. He can trace the history of his enslaved ancestors to the year 1797 in Barbados. An activist by nature, he was president of the Lodge School Student Council, president of the student government of Baruch College in New York City, and an in-resident activist at Howard University School of Law. He holds a Bachelor of Business Administration from the City University of New York with a minor in sociology and a Juris Doctorate from Howard University School of Law in Washington, D.C. As a young undergraduate, he was involved in the anti-apartheid movement against the racist South African government during the 1980s. He was also involved in the struggle fighting police brutality and racist violence against persons of African descent in the United States with the use of petitions, economic boycotts, and marches, to name a few things. As a young civil rights attorney, he took on cases on behalf of people of African ancestry and even ran for Attorney General of New York State under the banner of an independent political party. In 1993, he wrote the book, No Justice, No Peace, From Emmett Till to Rodney King. From 1993 to 2020, he was an adjunct assistant professor of Black Studies, History, and Law at City University of New York. His number one concern is the mistreatment of persons of African ancestry. He has traveled to Africa, the Caribbean, and to the Black regions of the United States. Wherever his travels take him, he studies and observes local Black culture. In 2020, he wrote his second book, Raped and Robbed, Time for 21st Century Reparations. And if I may make a shameless plug, the book is available in the museum bookshop. Terry Morris is an avid Pan-Africanist. He has also lectured in the US and Barbados. He once owned a tour bus company and was a New York City tour guide specializing in historic Black neighborhoods. He currently resides and practices civil rights law in New York, and he has been a consultant to different Black-led organizations, including a new group based in Haiti that is interested in being a member of the African Union outside of Africa. In his spare time, he coordinates family reunions. And I would like to make a special welcome to members of Terry's family that I believe some of you are in Barbados for a reunion, and I know some of you are attending the lecture this evening as well. This evening's topic is We Got Played, How Europeans Taught Black People to Hate Ourselves. The Atlantic slave trade was one of the most barbaric and traumatic periods in human history. It permanently displaced millions of Africans from their homes, culture, and memory. It was pivotal in establishing a global system of white supremacy that is still prevalent today. Simultaneously, it created a global system of Black inferiority. This lecture examines how this historic pattern of Black self-hatred emanating from enslavement has manifested itself in contemporary times. It looks at religion, slave battery,
The house slave, whose responsibilities included preparing the master's food, had to make sure that her hair was covered at all times. In addition, due to her inability to comb it, for lack of a comb, she was understandably quite sensitive about its appearance. It was in this manner that the hair of the black woman disappeared from view until the latter part of the 19th century. Because of this semi-decent of blacks gained and diversified to include Old Black Joe. This caricature of the house slave in later years came to be known as Aunt Jemima. This famous caricature would later be copyrighted and would appear on the breakfast table of virtually every home in America. Other caricatures would depict blacks as a race of people with little drive and less intelligence. This boy playing his accordion, with his features exaggerated, gives one some insight to the way white America viewed blacks.
Nice nose, yeah, good baby, pretty baby.
Upon the giving of birth, the first concern of the mother generally revolves around the complexion and hair texture of the child. Features approximating the master's were most desired by the mother and considered to be a premium.
You have some pretty hair. You have such pretty hair. It's okay. Look at your hair. Nice straight pretty hair and a nice little nose. Yes, it's gonna be okay. It's okay. No need to cry. You're such a sweet little baby. You have such nice hair. I sure hope you keep it. I sure hope you keep this pretty hair.
As the child grew older, the concern of the mother was whether or not the hair would remain straight or become kinky.
Beautiful, beautiful little baby. You're gonna be the cutest, precious little baby in the world. Mommy's gonna shape that nose so that you're gonna have such a pretty little nose and just the sweetest little lips. Don't worry, baby. Mommy's gonna take care of that.
As the child continued to develop, the mother clearly applied pressure to the nose and lips to influence their shape. To control head lice and other parasites, the slaves commonly applied sulfur to the scalp. Many blacks still apply it to the scalp today, convinced of its conditioning powers. Thus, a product which served the slave beneficially in keeping him free of parasitic infestation is today a source of black exploitation.
But I don't know what, honey. You don't have to pull that water out. You can take it and wash your hair. She's got enough oil in it. And you know when you work out in the field, you know how your hair dry out.
Dishwater, because of the grease it contained, was commonly used to clean and moisturize the hair. The slave, who had little, wasted nothing.
When you wrap your hair, it keeps it from getting all tangled and balled up. And when you wrap it like that, and it's easier to comb. See how soft and easy it is? Isn't it so fun? That's it. That's it, honey. Just let it set a while and rinse it in rainwater. You'll be all right. This is how you wash and clean your hair, dry clean your hair. When you can't wash it, you take and grease your scalp. Then you take the comb wheel and part it off, each part. And you put some in each part. And you rub it in after you get it all through your hair. Then you just take your hand and massage it in the scalp and all through your hair. Then you take and get you some cotton, go out to the barn and maybe look where you may want to farm and go out there at the barn and get some cotton and lace it between your comb. And then you take it and kind of rub your scalp with the teeth of the comb, then comb it. And all the comb will come out in the comb. And all the mint, dirt, dry skin come out in the comb. You see how the comb will coming out?
Black women who believe that the wetting of their hair during their menses was taboo often use a dry cleaning process to clean their hair. While the women were affecting hair grooming techniques which allowed them to keep their hair clean and manageable, black men were developing grooming techniques of their own. Black men frequently applied axle grease to their hair to induce it to lay down and appear straight. White America first, Janine, and then popularized black features in its efforts to sell her commercial products. The application of axle grease to the hair also gave the slave a youthful look, thanks to the dyeing effect, which allowed him to convince the master that he could still do a good day's work. To effect straightening of the hair, the slave employed a lye, lard, and potato mixture which he then applied to the hair. Lye, being extremely caustic, often left him with scalpel burns, which he was willing to endure in order to possess hair like his master. And the seed begins to leave its scars.
You gonna comb Fanny's hair before you come to bed?
Sammy, did you comb Fanny's hair today? No, Mama, she wouldn't let me.
Fanny, come here so I can comb your hair, girl.
Well, hard all day and then have to come home and fiddle around with this mess.
Don't comb so hard.
I'll be glad when you get older so you can comb it yourself. And Sammy, you hurry up so I can iron your hair before you go to bed.
Yes, Mama.
The innovative black mother soon found out that heat would straighten the hair.
out to the blacksmith tomorrow to see if I can get something made to do these gals' hair with. Cause I'm tired of these girls screaming about their hair.
I wish you would, Charlie. I sure wish you would.
I'm gonna see about it.
Lord, I wish you would.
Rick, I got these from the blacksmith. One of these ought to work on the little gals' hair.
Mama, it hurts.
No, man, you got to put it in the fire.
Well, put it in the fire and try to get
Yeah,
it.
chill. You gotta get hot. Real hot.
I hope that you better than that smooth now.
Now, man, it's hot now. That looks good.
Certainly didn't work.
Better than when you hit on that table.
The straightening comb at birth was clumsy and awkward to use. However, due to the ease with which blacks could straighten hair with it, it remains with us to this very day.
See, Missy don't cry when I comb her hair.
The black child, knowledgeable of the difficulty that the grooming of her hair presented her mother, could not help but detect the delight it gave her mother to comb the hair of the white girl before her. Her hair, which was difficult to comb, had to be straightened and then hidden under a head rag. It became a source of shame and embarrassment for her. Thus the black child came to the inevitable conclusion that there was something wrong with her. A virtue that this white girl possessed eluded her, a virtue that her own mother desired. She would do everything within her own power to attain it.
Let's start church by singing Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found.
Blacks, in their fervor to mimic their white masters, began to practice discrimination within their own ranks. Gradually, they developed a two-tier system with light-skinned blacks looking down on their dark-skinned brothers. They were the so-called blue vein, children of the master. Denied by their daddy, they nevertheless loved him deeply. All were welcome to the services held at the black congregation. It seemed their policy was more in tune with the Christian doctrine being preached. Their lowly position prohibited their discriminating against anyone. They were the darkies, with their so-called bad hair, thick lips, dominant features, which resembled the African, loved only by their Jesus. Black authority figures were usually less lenient with the black child regarding his shortcomings than they were with the lighter-skinned black.
Today is Monday. M-O-N-D-A-Y. Edward Lee, for heaven's sake, haven't I told you about coming to this classroom with all that lint in your head? I'm going to tell your mama to cut this hair off. For heaven's sake, boy, can't you comb this hair and get all this lint out your head before you come to school? Why do you always come to school with all this lint in your head? Haven't I told you about coming to class without combing your hair? I'm going to tell your mama, and when I do, I'm going to tell her to cut all this stuff off of your head. Your hair is so nappy, and you just won't do anything about it. Go over there and sit down, boy.
The teacher was just mother at school, reinforcing the inferiority seed.
Edward Lee, I don't have nobody coming to my class. Stop it. Turn around, boy. Turn around so you listen to me, so you can learn something with that bad hair. This morning, children, we're going to work some arithmetic. Mary, would you like to come up and work this problem for me, please? Well, very good, Mary, very good. And you look so nice this morning. And your hair is combed so neat and you're dressed so well. You just come to school looking so clean and everything. Go back and have a seat. Very good. Emily, turn around, boy, turn around. Before I comb your hair again. All right, young man, how about you? Why don't you come up and see if you can maybe work an arithmetic problem for me. Let's try one in division. Let's see if you can work that for me. Very good, very good. Yes, and look, I see you wash your face before you come to school, and you comb your hair, and it just looks so nice and looks so neat. Nice fella. Keep the good work up, fella. Very good.
Edward Lee, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I don't want my hair cut.
Edward Lee, why do you always come to school with all this lint in your head? Haven't I told you about coming to class without combing your hair?
Good morning, teacher. I cut Edward Lee's hair for you.
Good morning to you, too. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm just so glad to see you with this nice haircut. You look so much better, Edward Lee. I'm so glad that you just look like a different young man this morning.
I got tired of looking at it, too.
Caroline, your hair's ready for school tomorrow. Now, I want you to go over there and get that lard and grease your legs before you go to bed.
It's calm for my table.
Yes, Mom. Mom, you know that boy I was telling you about the other day, that Edward Lee? You know I got his mama to cut his hair off, and do you know he looks so much better? So much better.
Girl, me and your daddy didn't work all these years to send you to school, for you to go to school to change them kids. If they black, they black. If they got big nose, they got big nose. If they got a big mouth, they got big mouth. If they got curly hair, they got curly hair. So what you trying to change them for? We want you to put something in their head.
Well, Mama, I'm trying to get something in their head, but you got to remember, my daddy is not blind.
I could marry him for his color. I married him because I love
The teachers, those to whom we look for salvation, could not save themselves from the inferiority syndrome. Products such as gold dust illustrate how blacks were used to publicize commercial products. Blacks were generally depicted in a distorted form which gave the impression that they were incapable of serious action or thought. This racist depiction completely denied blacks the luxury of receiving any positive feedback from their environment. Fun to wash left no doubt in the mind of white women that black domestics absolutely found it fun to do their dirty laundry. Nigger hair coupons were considered valuable and were exchanged quite openly in America. They were connected with nigger hair tobacco, so named because its long black tobacco fibers reminded whites of black hair. International harness soap. Since it was blacks who maintained the leather goods of America, advertising usually depicted their faces. Crown Beauty tobacco. A recognizable face first appeared on a tobacco can. Thus, a myriad of products used the black face in a blatantly degrading manner to advertise their products to the world. Blacks appeared as Old Black Joe, Uncle Remus, Aunt Jemima, and countless others. The psychological effect that it had on blacks of the time can only be imagined, since no scientific studies were ever done. However, they do constitute a visible record of the sickness that allowed one man to so totally disregard the sanctity of another. Black faces with their features grossly distorted appeared on every conceivable product that America had to offer, with total disregard for the psychological long-range effect this pernicious form of advertising would inevitably have. Blacks appeared on the food products of America, and such figures as Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima, even though they have undergone a cosmetic transformation, still remain to remind us of a period when a black face on a can had freedom of movement, which the black person was uniformly denied. This open contempt that white America felt for blacks makes it difficult to understand why so many blacks desire to imitate someone they could never be, thus telling the world of the genuine dislike they felt for themselves. Nevertheless, when white entrepreneurs began to realize the strong desire that blacks had for white features, they moved to help blacks fulfill that desire. Pressing became common. The black woman was finally successful in her desire to emulate her white mistress. Her ingenuity once again served her well when she devised a way to prolong the curl in her hair through the use of paper rolls and lard. By tying her hair up before retiring, the paper rolls served the purpose which modern rollers serve today. Thus, the black woman had taken brown paper and transformed it into a useful product, all in an effort to disassociate herself from her natural beauty, an undertaking in which no other race have collectively participated.
Only put it on the hair instead of putting it on the scalp so you won't get any steam burns when you go in there for pressing. Only on the hair. Now we are ready to press. Always temper your eyes with the rag so you can see to the blue smoke coming instead of the black smoke before you touch the hair. Go as close to the roots, but don't go to the roots. To the scalp. Close to the scalp. Now, how often are we supposed to do this? You should do it at least every 2 weeks. You should try to shampoo and press your hair. Once we use lard to soften the hair, does this take the place of lard? It will excel lard 100%. This will give a beautiful sheen into your hair and even soften it. And it also takes care of the skin. And will take care of the skin.
By the time Sarah McWilliam Walker, who was later become Madam C.J. Walker, came along, the inferior seed which had been planted upon the arrival of the African had been reinforced generation to generation. It set the stage for the commercialization of an outward display of that which had transpired inwardly. Madam Walker's success was a testament to the fact that blacks did not like the way they look. Madam Walker practiced publicly and prospered, doing that which a generation of blacks had been doing privately.
Down there. Down there.
How's it feel?
Oh, man.
How you feel?
It's all right.
Is it all right? Is it burning?
Oh, just a little bit, but I can take it.
Can you take it?
Just a few.
You a man, ain't you?
Yeah.
I know you was.
Oh, my lady gonna love me now.
That's almost like mine.
Yeah, I want it like yours.
Okay, now, hold still.
Okay, but it brings me tears, but it's worth it.
Oh, man, this stuff is getting there.
Ooh, man, I can feel it working.
Ooh, I like that. Let's work.
Oh,
Let's
man,
work, brother.
yeah, let it work.
Ooh, I'm making it straight. I'm making it straight. You gonna love this. Ooh, the women gonna go nuts on you, sugar baby.
Man, I want waves for the babes. Girls for the...
Can you hear me? Let's see. I got to know for sure. Maybe I'll ask my cousin Denise, as an elder, because I definitely know you're older than me. Do I have permission to speak? All right. That's the African tradition. We ask the elders for permission to speak. Okay. Good evening, sisters and brothers. I'm glad you're here tonight. I know you could be out doing something else. This is in the summer, so I appreciate you showing up. All right. I took the carvey out. Now, the topic is we got played. How Europeans taught us to hate ourselves. He said, you're going to get up here and talk about black women's hair. Right? So let me just say, anybody come up here, try to slap me, it is on. Because I ain't Chris Rock, and you ain't Will Smith. All right? That show you just saw, that was 400 years without a comb. It more or less crystallizes that aspect of the hair. We'll talk more about that. Now, I want you to do something for me. I want you to close your eyes. Don't worry, hold on to your wallets. All right? Nobody's going to take them. In fact, if you don't trust the banks, you probably should have put the money in the backyard and hopefully the monkeys won't get it. All right, but hold on to your wallet. I'll keep my eyes open. Nobody will take your money. All right? I want you to imagine yourself, you're 14 years old, living in a village in Africa. So you would have had some experience with African culture at 14 years old. All right, you've spoken to the elders. And then one day, somebody put a bag over your head, and two men grab you, and you got kidnapped. And you were in the interior, and they had to take you from the interior to the coast. And depending on how far in the interior you were, all right, it would range in terms of time. It could take weeks, take months. It took some people a few years traveling in a slave castle with chains. All right, and along the way, close to the fort, you met somebody who looked different to you, different complexion. We would call him a factor. And then when they got you to the coast, there was a fort, all right? And on top of the fort, there was a chapel. And on top of the chapel, there was a cross. And you saw somebody who didn't look like you, dressed like a priest, and he would go into the chapel. You saw some soldiers who didn't look like you, running up, and you started hearing the N-word. They're referring to everybody who didn't look like them as the N-word, right? and you started seeing people being beaten, all right? And then they took you to the dungeon. And in the dungeon were people who looked like you. And they separated the men from the women. And you saw women being raped that night by the soldiers. And they would do that, and then they would go to the chapel and pray the next day with the man who administered. You saw them being beaten. They were waiting in the dungeon for the ship to carry them across the water. And it finally arrived, and you were given not a whole lot of nutrition. You were packed on board the ships, and you were parked like sardines. The women and the kids were together, and the men were separated, chained, and you did everything where you were. You defecated on yourself, disease broke out, and once a day they would take you up to exercise and down. So after about, 2 months, depending on where you were going, and if the ship didn't get lost, you end up on this side of the world, 180 different ports, all the way from Argentina, going up north, all right? 2 million to Rio de Janeiro, 1.5 million to Salvador de Bahia, 886,000 to Jamaica, 500,000 to Barbados. Slave cargo. Now, they all you up. They put you in the auction. You couldn't speak the language. And you got sold, and they examined your teeth like an animal, and they took you off to a plantation. You were 14 years old. And then you were exposed to the breaking-in period. Breaking-in period meant they taught you how to be a slave, basically. Obey the master, do whatever the master wanted. And put yourself forward now, 60 years later. So you'll be, what, 74? There are 2 generations that followed you, that you taught to be a slave. Okay? The hardest part was teaching you, but you taught them because, especially for the men, you wanted to protect them. You didn't want your sons to die. So you would have covered religion, European religion, and they said you had no religion. I want to show you something. You ever been to Ghana? I guess I probably should have had a better exhibit. This is called the J Name. This symbol right here, the Akan symbol. That symbol represents there's nobody greater than God. Everything is below God. So you had no religion. The European had his religion. The European felt the same way. Nobody was greater than God, but his God was white. So everything associated with God and his complexion was white. All right? And he did that throughout the entire world, wherever he went. God was white, his son was white, the disciples were white. And guess what? What's the opposite of white? Black, right? So everything that was the opposite was black. You were black, the devil was black, all the images were black, right? So I don't have to go through them all. Black male, negative, black death. Give me some more examples of black. Black sheep of the family, right? All that associated. This is how they taught us to hate ourselves. Now, how many people heard of Carter G. Woodson? Anybody? Carter G. Woodson, right? We effectively call him the father of black history. If it means anything to anybody, he's the second black man from Harvard to get a PhD. It doesn't really mean anything to me. It means more to me what he did with his PhD. All right. So Carter G. Woodson said, Miseducation in Negro in 1933. All right. When you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or go yonder. He will find his proper place and will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, If there is no back door, he will cut one for his special benefits. His education makes it necessary. Back door. Religion. Africans, whatever they practice, whatever they preach, was mumbo jumbo. It was voodoo. If I say voodoo, everybody in here is going to run, right? That's what we've been taught. Voodoo. What is voodoo? It's a West African religion. Africans brought with them over here. And these pages marked off. (1791). August 14, 1791. That was 234 years ago. Some ex-slaves in Haiti met in the woods of Bois Cameron. Cecile Fatima, a lady, she was you call her Mambo, voodoo priestess, was presiding. Bookman Duty, a voodoo priest, was presiding. Bookman was prophesying that the slaves would be successful in the uprising. Bookman had been born in Senegambia, had been sold into slavery to Jamaica, and then was sold again to Haiti. A voodoo man. Let's see what he had to say. And by the way, when the revolution took place, 30% of the fighters were women. All right? 30% of the fighters were women. Did anybody see The Woman King? Yeah. Saw the movie? All right. Well, a lot of the slaves from Dahomey came to Haiti. So some of them had knowledge of fighting. So this is what Bookman said, the voodoo man, right? Bookman addressed the slaves. He said, I want to quote, "The good Lord who made the sun, who brings us light from above, who rouses the sea, and who makes the thunder roar, that God is there. Do you understand? Hiding in a cloud. He watches us. He sees all that the whites do. The God of the whites pushes them to crime, but he wants us to do good deeds. But a God who is so good orders us to violence. He will direct our hands and give us help. Throw away the image of God, of the God of the whites, who thirsts for our tears, and listen to the voice of liberty who speaks in the hearts of us." So the slave listened. 1 week later, August 22nd, it was on. 1,800 plantations were set on fire. 1,000 slaveholders lost their life. Slavery in Haiti eventually ended. August 22nd, since 1997, is considered the International Day for the remembrance of the slave trade. That's the kind of voodoo I would have practiced had I been back there. All right? It's all bad. There's another one called Obia. Now, West Africans started practicing Obia on the island of Barbados. If you take a survey right now, nobody on this island practices Obia. They're practicing at other islands, not in Barbados. All right? What is Obia? Look, they don't African religion. It's African religion. Is one religion superior to any other religion? Taki was a slave. He was a leader. They said Taki's rebellion in 1760 in Jamaica. He used Obe men to get the slaves together, and he started his uprising. Queen Nani of the Maroons, maybe a century before, she's what they call Obia woman, but she was a herbalist. All right? So it's something in the African, in the religion, they didn't want black people to practice. You want them to practice your concept of Christianity, your concept of God. So you hate your own and embrace what they have. How did we get played? And slavery was detrimental to the black family. The black male can be a black male, not what men normally do. He was stripped of that masculinity in front of his family. The black woman was raped. Rape is not an act of sex. Rape is an act of domination. The master said, this is your mind, I can do whatever you want. Children were beaten. How does this history affect us today? I don't believe in just talking about history, or how big were the pyramids. I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about how big were the pyramids back then, and can we build a pyramid today? All right? Throughout slavery, battery, being beaten, we do the same thing today. I'm not an advocate of beating kids. I know it's going to be controversial, but we're going to deal with it. I'm not an advocate of it. I know you probably still beat them in school, right? They don't beat them anymore? Okay. According to Dr. Stacy Patton, she's a child advocate professor at her university. Beating kids is the whitest thing you can do. I know I'm a man today, I'm successful because I got beat, right? People tell you that all the time. What's the juvenile detention center down here? What's it called? Dawes? All right. So you're successful because you got beat. I'm willing to bet you, if you go to Dawes, the people up there got beat worse than you. So how did it turn out that way? If beating had an effect to turn you around. It's lazy. There are better ways to discipline kids, all right? It's the only form of domestic violence that we call love, beating kids, like they're a piece of property. That is the white man's logic. That's where that came from, instilled in us. Children must exist in a pain-free environment. If the world is like that, home should not be. So, I didn't get up here and criticize anybody's hair. You saw the men were using a comb and the jerry curls, and see, in my time, I never did it, but I know people who did it. All right, talk about. Let's deal with Malcolm X for a minute, because he had a comb too, back in the day. Detroit Red, all right? So he said in 1965 speech, Malcolm was assassinated in 1965. He said, we hated African characteristics, we hated our hair. We hated our nose, the shape of our nose, and the shape of our lips, the color of our skin. Our color became a chain, a psychological chain. Our blood, African blood, became a psychological chain, a prison, because we were ashamed of it. We felt trapped because we had African blood in our veins. This is how you imprison us. And talking about that nose straightening thing, that was real. I had an ex-girlfriend who, back in the 90s, I'm like, well, why are you struggling to breathe? Like, oh, when I was a young girl, my grandma used to take and do it like this. And she was an adult struggling to breathe. Struggling to breathe. Now, how else were we taught to hate ourselves? Speech. You know, black people can't talk. Don't go and embarrass me, right? Can't even speak English. Hey, or, I mean, you say you can't speak English. I mean, everybody wasn't conquered by English, so you probably couldn't speak French either, right? You probably couldn't speak Spanish, nor Portuguese. So you get up there and embarrass yourself. Don't talk like that, right? I was teaching a course. Remember, this course is in East Harlem, some African-American kids. And I was going through the different aspects of the variants and the music. And I said, and black people speak Ebonics. Yeah. Ebonics. Yeah. We don't speak no Ebonics. First of all, even saying it like that, when you put those two double negatives, that's a West African thing. Speak no Ebonics. Ashamed, right? Brothers and sisters, all Ebonics means is ebony is black, phonics is sound, the black sound. You speak English, right? You speak English. Most black people do not speak English. Everybody in this room is bilingual. What are you talking about? You people speak based on culture. The first 4 years of your life, here you're not speaking English, you speak the way your parents speak in the house. You learn English when you go to school. So you start translating, all right? That's what you're doing. I mean, you weren't born in England, so how are you going to speak English? So you say, are you saying I'm not intelligent? Has nothing to do with intelligence. Speech is cultural, has nothing to do with intelligence. You're trying to imitate the white man, the Europeans, so you start to do everything, and it's going to be difficult to do that. They said people in America, these white folks in England said, people in America mess up the King's English. Well, first of all, most people in England, them white folks, they didn't even speak the King's English anyway. They all kind of Cockney this and all kind of, all right? Entertainment. How Europeans started us hate ourselves. And this is a deep one too. Go watch a black comedy show. You see on a BET. The end this, the end that. Now, there's a genre of music called hip hop. Now, if you don't use the N word, you're not gonna get no record deal. You're not gonna get it. That's what they want to hear. All right? I don't know any group divides themselves that way. Tell me the group. All right? This is today. We're not talking about back in slavery days. This is what Dr. Carter Wilson talked about, the back door. How we doing with time? All right, we're doing good on time. And by the way, I forgot to mention, dealing with religion. The character called Santa Claus, him, the one you celebrate during Christmas, same thing, all right, same thing. Somebody asked me, was Santa Claus good to you last December? I said, I don't teach Santa Claus. What do you mean? What do you mean? I said, black parents work hard every year to give them kids something, a gift or something, or whatever school. Around Christmas, turn around and say, it came from Santa Claus, a white man from the North Pole. First of all, Santa Claus is not from the North Pole. Santa Claus is from the North Mall. You never see the North Pole. Device to make you inferiority. That's what you're doing, instilling. All right. People heard me speak before. They say, today you don't sound too African because you're not talking about animals, right? Normally I talk about animals, some kind of animals. All right, so let me see if I can praise you. So several years ago in New York, the black circus came to town. I said, let me go see the circus. I've seen black circus before. So I got there early, bought my ticket. And like a fool, I went and sat up front. I said, I got a good seat. They brought the elephants out. These are elephants black. And the elephant decided that, let me use a proper English term, defecate. Right there. I said, elephant, this is public. Elephant said, I gotta go, right? Cleaned it up. He didn't defecate on me, but I could smell it, right? Then the brother came out, what is he, a tamer? The people in the, yeah. And two tigers in cage. I'm sitting there watching, and then it dawned on me, I says, "Them tigers get out of here. I'm going to be one of the ones first." This is stupid, right? And he went to and the tiger gave him a high five, like this. I said, okay. Everybody likes the tiger then, right? You know, funny thing, some years back, because a tiger is a ferocious animal. In fact, a tiger is more ferocious than the lion. All right, he's bigger. All right, he's stronger and stuff. A tiger would destroy a lion. All right, so a tiger got out some years before. After that, I believe it might have mauled one or two people, and they shot the tiger, and they said, "Crazy tiger escapes and maul people. Crazy tiger." And the brother's in a cage with this tiger, and and I was thinking to myself, we like easy stuff. Animals that are tame, you can tame them, right? If a tiger escapes, the tiger wants to be free. The tiger is being in his free state. The tiger not crazy. The crazy tiger is the one that let you tame him and fight and give him. See, that's us. Easy. Getting played. So we need psychological counseling. You can't be 14 years old, endure what I gave you when you close your eyes, and be all right. All right? And you pass it down. We have a lot of problems. All right? A lot of it stems from the condition we've been exposed to. All right? The first thing, acknowledging you need to be healed. You need to acknowledge what has been done to you. If you don't like to talk about it, all right? I'm a big proponent of reparations. Unapologetic about it, all right? You create the problems, you deal with it. So I put the psychologists, social workers together. So we need to start healing ourselves in the process, get the reparation. So I quoted Bookman, I quoted Malcolm X, Manus. So let me end with quoting Fannie Lou Hamer. Y'all know who Fannie Lou Hamer was, right? All right, well, read up on her if you don't know. Easy to get. If you're ignorant these days, because you want to be ignorant, all right? Years ago, I had to go to the library to do everything. Now, all you got to do is go and meet Mr. Google, and you'll be fine. All right? Fannie Lou Hamer. And she said, "We must never forget where we come from, and we must always praise the bridges that have carried us over." So thank you for listening. Yes, ma'am.
What inspired you? What inspired you to give this this presentation its name?
How we got played? Yes. How Europeans taught us at ourselves? Well, I try to make it current. I would think people respond to some of how we got played rather than giving you some esoteric thing you can't even relate to. Make it in common language for common people. That's what I do. All right? A lot of this, what I did was from my book, Raven Rob, Time for 21st Century Reparations, the chapter dealing with psychological damage done to us and other stuff. So that's basically what it was. I think that's one of the most important chapters in that book, and I felt it was necessary for us to discuss it. Yes, sir.
Hi.
No.
Hi, my name's Stacy. So more of a comment. I get how we got played, but I'm also curious on the flip side, how we got played, how we survived, how we thrived, how we took those conditions and circumstances historically up to the present, and how we use our power as people to still persevere, even given the history and current systems that still seek to oppress us.
Okay. Well, if you survive the Atlanta slave trade, and I told you, you imagine what somebody went through, I mean, what do you think the chances of surviving that? It tells me you got that melanin in you that makes you strong. You got a fortitude. So you just got to deal with the negative aspects of that. No, it's funny. People, you start saying stuff like this, why they keep talking about slavery. Why don't they get over it? No, I don't know of anybody who sits down and says, all right, we got enslaved, I ain't gonna work no more, I ain't gonna go to school no more. Everybody, we all went to school, tried to do better ourselves, which is crazy. Like, the conditions exist, but you try to overcome as much as you can. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to let you off the hook for what you did. When other people who've got worse treatment than us got reparations, I'm not going to do that. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Thank you. A question I would have, and excuse me if this is like the arrogance of youth or whatever, but how would you address the issues that arise between Black people today that still follow the religion that Europeans, that white people forced upon us, right? And how there seems to be groups of Black people that ignore that fact and continue to they don't question the nature of the very system used to villainize and antagonize them, put in place by organizations like the church.
You said the church. What are you referring to? The Christian church. All right. Your oppressor never promised to free you. I mean, that's why he oppressed you, right? So anything he tolerates, he would think is going to be to his benefit. No, in your wisdom, you got to turn that around. I'm an advocate of liberation theology, all right? You heard of Nat Turner? Yeah. All right. Nat Turner was a reverend, all right? That's my kind of reverend, all right? That's my kind of reverend, all right? The one's going to teach you to be a slave, I got no use for him, all right? You talking about religion for a minute. Everybody got their own views, Christianity and all that. I don't take a lot of stuff in the Bible literal. A lot of people, I don't. You think there was one Moses? Not in history. There wasn't no one Moses, all right? This Moses come along at different